Hey, good afternoon. This is Marshall Ramsey, and this is Home Sweet Home with Marshall Ramsey here. And by the way, go Vols. We're really going to have a great time today. We got about 30 minutes, and we're going to draw some pictures, and I'm going to help you learn to draw a little bit. And I thought probably the perfect the best dog in the world to draw is the world famous Smokey himself. So we're going to set that up. I've got it showing right here. You can see my drawing board. And also, too, I want to hear from you. I want to hear your comments. So say hello. Tell me a little bit about what's going on in your life. I want to make sure that you're okay. You know, we're getting toward the end of the week, and I don't know about you, but boy, I tell you what, it's kind of hard to tell what day of the week it is. And right now, I think it's Thursday, but I'm not sure. So anyway, thank you. Welcome aboard. It's good to see you here, and we're going to get started in just a second. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself before we get started. My name is Marshall Ramsey, of course, and I am a 1991 graduate from the University of Tennessee. I graduated actually with a marketing degree, but I worked for 5 years for the Daily Beacon, and I was the editorial cartoonist. And I like to tell people that UT gave me my education and the Beacon gave me my career. So if you were in school during that time, you probably saw one of my cartoons. And since then, I've gone on to be a two-time Pulitzer finalist, which means I lost twice, but I came close. And then also, too, well, hey, Carrie, hey, Levi, how are you? Good to be joining us. Anyway, I knew at 8 years old that I wanted to be a cartoonist. So that was kind of my dream, and I was able to do it. And a lot of it was because I went to UT and was at the Daily Beacon. We're going to show you this right here real quick. This is a drawing sheet that I will post in the comments section after we're done. And this is a Smokey. This is a coloring sheet for you, so you can do a little bit of coloring afterwards. So I just want to let you know there's going to be a little bit of added value to this. You might have seen some of my cartoons in the past. I'll show you some of the cartoons real quick before we get started. This was one I did when Pat Summitt passed away. And like many of you, Pat was very special to me, and I'll tell you why. When I worked at the Daily Beacon, you know, we built Thompson Bowling Arena, and I used to go down and eat at the cafeteria. And one day she was sitting over there, and Pat was sitting by herself, Coach Summitt, of course, like I knew her well enough to call her Pat, but she was sitting by herself, and she saw me sitting by myself, and she said, hey, I want you to come over and say hello. And so I came over and said hello to her, and she said, tell me a little bit about yourself, which was amazing that she would talk to me just as a mere student. And she asked me all kinds of questions. She heard that I did the cartoon. She really liked them. Of course, they'd won the national championship that year, and she liked that cartoon. And then she looked me right in the eye, and she said, so what are you going to do to sacrifice to get that? And I was just like, what? Who is this crazy person? Why is she asking that? But she was one of the many people that influenced me at UT. And when she passed away, that really broke my heart. This is one that I did for Haslam Business School. Of course, I graduated with a marketing degree from there. Just to show you a few here before we get started. It's one I did for the College of Communications. Sorry, they're all in black and white. You know, like most of y'all, I don't have a color printer, so. Hey, Eric, how are you, buddy? How you doing? Eric, by the way, has always been a good friend, and he, works for the university and is just absolutely a great guy. This was when Smokey was going around the world. So I've been drawing Smokey for a long time. I did this for Social Media Week. In fact, I think it's still hanging in the College of Communications. If you go in there, you can see in one of their rooms, they've got that hanging up. And then this one you may have seen too. This was when Barbara Bush passed away. And this one, believe it or not, within about a couple hours of me drawing it, was on the Today Show site, and Jenna Bush Hager really liked it, and she put it on her Instagram, and it went viral at that point. And last December, I spoke at the Bush Library. That was a lot of fun. And I'll end with this one. Y'all might recognize this place. This is one I did coming up for the Graduate Hotel. This is actually Neyland Stadium. That's what I did, a pen and ink. So just to show you that. And I was going to say, and we're going to learn how to draw this today. Now, this was a drawing I did from Cades Cove, a pen and ink. So I just like showing you a few of these before we get going here in a little bit. This is Ramsey Cascades. So I grew up in Georgia, actually, believe it or not. I grew up in Atlanta. Here's some. But my family's all from Maryville, Tennessee. In fact, West Chevrolet there is my cousin Steve West and Charles West and Mary Beth West, of course. They're all my cousin. And then, so I spent a lot of time up in Tennessee. And when I was like in 8th grade, my dad took me to my first Tennessee game, and it was 100 degrees. It was hot. It was the first time they had built Neyland Stadium out. It was completed the bowl. It was 98,000 people. This is just some more drawings real quick before we get started. And Dad, you know, he wanted me to have a good time and enjoy it. And we were sitting there, and that was the game that Herschel Walker ran over Bill Bates. So it was like a really, really close game and really exciting. And I remember one time I leaned over to Dad and I said, I'm going to go to Tennessee. And so 6 years later, I got a scholarship to go up to Tennessee. I was really proud. It was an academic scholarship because I thought I'd play football, but I'm a little bit short for that. I'm only 6'1". But I came there in my first year. So we're going to get started. Now this right here is what we're going to draw. So I hope you've got your paper ready. And by the way, you don't need anything really fancy to draw this. And what I'm going to use, and I'll tell you a little bit real quick about what I'm using. This is just Bristol board. This is 11 by 14 paper. And I will be using, this is a Statler calligraphy pen. This is just what I draw with because I can get a variety of lines, but it's really nothing fancy. And my thinner lines will be a Micron pen like that. So anyway, my freshman year, I'm in Grieve Hall. Y'all know where Grieve is, right? So I'm in Grieve Hall. I'm on the 3rd floor. And my resident advisor, my RA, was a guy named Rusty Gray. And Rusty went on to become the student government president that year. And then he now works with Baker Donaldson down in Chattanooga. Rusty's a great guy. But he suggested I go try out for the Daily Beacon. And I did, and ended up doing that for 5 years. And a lot of good friends there I worked with for many years. I really learned a lot about how to deal with people and how to deal with editors. But I also worked with a guy named Eric Smith who helped the bookstore do the catalog every year. And Eric's a great guy. I love Eric to death. A very talented artist in his own right. But they said, well, you know, we just redesigned Smokey, so we need to draw Smokey. And so I drew Smokey very similar to the way I'm going to draw it for you today. And I drew Smokey in the sense of how I thought he kind of looked, and they hung that thing up, and like when you go in the old bookstore and you go down the stairs, it was always hanging up there. So for many years, Smokey and I had a good relationship there, but I still get to draw him occasionally, and so it's a lot of fun. So we're going to go get started. So we'll just go ahead and get started with his nose there. And if you'll notice, the line's a little bit wider. And whenever you have anything in the foreground, I'm going to give you a little art with it too, you're going to have thicker lines. Now, say if I'm going to do Ayers Hall in the background, which I probably will after I'm done with this, it would be in thinner lines to make it look like it's farther away. So we're going to go ahead and get Smokey started. We'll get his big, handsome nose. This is kind of like Bob Ross without big hair and a squirrel. So I don't have a squirrel. I do have a dog named Pip, who Pip's in the house, but I think she's taking a nap. You might hear her bark at some point. For many years, I had a dog named Banjo. And Banjo, we did a children's book based on him. So that was him there. So Banjo was quite famous in his own right. So let's see here. So we got the nose, and we got a little bit of a spot here from the sun reflecting off of it. I'll give him a couple freckles. How's it going? Well, hey, Dennis, how are you? UTK 1973. Awesome. Thanks for chiming in. All right, so we got that. When you're done, I want you to take a picture of your drawing that you're working on and post it in the comments section. I want to see what you're doing. I want you to see. So there we go. So how are you guys holding up? Are you healthy? Or quarantine, self-quarantine going okay? You know, the nice thing about drawing is, and coloring particularly, it's very relaxing and it's a great stress reliever. Highly recommend you doing it. I'm now, well, let me tell you a little bit more of my story. So for 5 years, I was in College of Communications, and I switched over to College of Business. So I kind of have I always like to say I have a hybrid degree. Love both places because really, honestly, everything I learned about my craft, I learned at the Daily Beacon and in my communications classes, and then the marketing side worked out great. So my friends over in the Haslam School have been amazing too. And so I do a lot of things now, but when I graduated, I was going to be just a cartoonist, of course. We'll get Smoky smile. How's that looking? That's looking good. Well, Lucy, how are you doing, Lucy? It's good to see you. I'm glad you're watching. For those of you who might not know, Lucy's my cousin, so I'm very, very proud that she's my cousin. And I'd mentioned West Chevrolet earlier over in Knoxville. She's related. All right. There we go. Well, anyway, what happened is that, when I was 8, I told my dad, I said, I want to be a cartoonist. And that's when parents come up to me and say, hey, what do you want me to do to my kids or help my kids to be able to do this? And I always tell them, I said, well, number one, you can get them classes or do whatever, but the main thing is if you see your kid has talent, encourage them. My dad's a guy named Dave Ramsey. You've probably heard of Dave Ramsey. He's quite famous, actually, but that's not the same Dave Ramsey. That Dave Ramsey is named after my dad. My dad and Dave's dad are brothers, so Dave and I are cousins. But my dad, when I was 8, I walked up to him like a weird little kid, and I said, and my dad graduated in 1959 from the University of Tennessee with a transportation degree. So he was a Vol also. And he loved Tennessee. I mean, he was buried in an orange blanket. The man loved, and when we walked him out of the funeral, it was to Rocky Top. So my dad was big orange through and through. But I said to him, I said, Dad, I want to become a cartoonist. I want to do this. And he just looked at me, which was probably the weirdest thing an 8-year-old could tell his dad they want to be a cartoonist. Most dads would probably want you to play football, and I did play football, but he just looked at me and he said, and you're going to be the best one ever. And, Dad always was good about teaching me little things like that to give me encouragement, and I really appreciate that. My mom's an art teacher. My mom and dad are both from Maryville. So, I had this great combination, this great support. And I'm going to say, if you're a parent and you want your kids to be able to become, what they're really good at, you being behind them is the number one thing you need to do. And Dad was really good about that. But when I was in college, he looked at me and he said, well, you need to get a marketing degree. And I said, why is that? He said, well, a lot of people can outdraw you and they may be able to outthink you. But if you can sell yourself, you'll be able to survive. And I am very grateful for Dad for doing that. Of course, he also taught me to water ski on Fort Loudon Lake, and I'm surprised I'm still alive. In fact, his teaching methods have been banned in several different states. But I'll tell you one thing about my dad. My dad water skied at age 78. It was a great moment, to be honest with you. We were up visiting my cousin Dave, and Dave was driving the boat, and he pulled Dad up out of the water, and Dad skied like a champ. So I was really proud of him. So miss him, but he was very proud of me. This year I was very honored to get an alumni award from UT, and I really wish Dad could have been there, but I think he was. I think he would have enjoyed it. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the folks at the Daily Beacon. So many of the people that I was there with or have gone on to have really good careers, and I'm really proud of them. So, okay, we get Smokey going here, got his ears. I'm not going to go full black on it. So the lines like this are a little bit rough, but this right here, when you do shading like this, that's called hatching. So, and if you do it crossed like that, that's called cross hatching. So, all right, let's see. Do I have a favorite professor from my time at UT? Yes, I have got a couple of them. My first one, I'm going to tell you about Faye Julian. And then those of you who may know Faye Julian from the College of Communications. It was my senior year. At that point, I'll tell you just a minute, but it was, by switching majors, I was probably not your average business student. We'll just put it that way. And so, but my advisor, who I'll touch on just a second, got me taking a bunch of different classes. And one of them was speech, because she figured I needed to be speech. And speech class worked out for me 2 reasons. Number one, she made me go do an assignment to meet somebody who did what I wanted to do. So I walked up to the Knoxville Journal at the time and met a guy named Charlie Daniel, who was gracious enough to allow me to sit down with him. Charlie had been the cartoonist at the Knoxville News Sentinel for Journal for like 30 years at that point. And Charlie sat down with me and was very patient. He was on deadline, but he had time to talk to a kid who wanted to be a cartoonist. And a few weeks later, Charlie invited me over to his house for dinner. He and his wife, Patsy, who are two treasures in Knoxville. And they're doing well. I talked to them a few days ago. They're locked down, safe right now at home. But Charlie said, hey, come on over to eat. And he showed me all of his cartoons and all the cartoonists. And he took me to a cartoonist convention. So, number one, I got a big career out of that speech class because I got to meet Charlie Daniel. The second one was, it was spring, and I don't know about y'all, but spring was so hard, especially because, Knoxville's a gorgeous town, but in the wintertime, it's cold, it's gray, so you get that first spring day, and you definitely don't want to go to class, especially once your senior year. And I was sitting there in class, and and Dr. Julian was handing out the first test, and she laid it and put it down in front of me, and there on the paper, right there, it said 95. And I was just like, yes, all right. And she looked at me right in the eye and she said, you can do better. I'm like, all right, who is this crazy person? And why did she just say I could do better when I got a 95? The thing and this happened with several of my professors at UT, but Faye Julian believed in me before I believed in me. And, people always say, well, should I go to college? Da, 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 da. I tell you what, that was the gift that UT gave me, was the fact that here I was getting to actually, learn and experiment and try things. And I had these people that totally saw that I had talent and I could do great things. And then they made sure that I did it. So I love Faye Julian. I got to see her. I spoke a couple times up there. I spoke up at the Baker Center, which I love. By the way, the Baker Center is a treasure there on UT's campus. And I was speaking, and she came and heard me afterwards, and she sat and she critiqued my speech. I mean, I speak in front of thousands of people now. I'm kind of used to doing it, but she did it, and I was just like, you're always going to be my teacher, aren't you? And she said, yep. And so I did. I showed you briefly one of the drawings earlier that I did for the College of Communications, and it had all the deans in it, and she was there in the drawing. And so she came, and I gave her a signed copy of the drawing. And she was starting to get a little bit foggy. She's since passed, but she was getting a little bit foggy on the memory, but she knew me as soon as she saw me. And I said, Dr. Julian, I just wanted to say I was your favorite student, right? Because you were my favorite professor. And she looked at me and she said, no, you weren't my favorite student. I was like, what? She said, you were my second favorite student. I said, well, who was the first? And she said, Peyton Manning. I was like, okay, I can live with that one, I guess. But Dr. Julian was great. The other one was Dr. Sarah Gardiel, she's now the head of the business school up at Iowa State University. And I think she's about ready to retire, which blows my mind. But she took in a kid who was changing majors and was lost. And she kind of took the whole business curriculum and tore it up. And sat there and said, okay, well, you need to take your core classes here, but these are the electives that you're going to take. And she looked, so here we go. Let me make sure everything's in focus. So I got him sitting there doing his number one. So I did a drawing. About to say, how's it going so far? How's everybody? Say hello. Just keep talking to me a little bit. Hey, Ashley, how are you? Thank you. I appreciate you liking the work. Yeah, it's we were up recently. Of course, we were up for the alumni awards earlier, I guess late last fall, and we were up for the BYU game. And it was really a lot of fun because I was 12 on my first game, and so we took our 12-year-old up for the game, and it was almost like Dad and I sitting there watching the game together, except for the fact that we were sitting in the skybox. And needless to say, it was a little different experience for my son, but it was really fun. And so I got to meet the new chancellor. Really do like the chancellor a lot. She's great, and I think she's done a fantastic job with all the turmoil going on. But I just wanted to say a shout out and a thought for all the students that are affected right now, and particularly the seniors. And it's so tough to have everything going on, my son's a sophomore in college, and I understand that that's really tough. So I just wanted to let you know that my heart's with you, because I know this has been such a disruptive time for all the students. Online learning is really not a big deal once you're in college, because it's kind of like a lot of people get their school that way, but you miss the whole experience of being on campus, and there's really nothing prettier than UT's campus, particularly now. Wow, it's gorgeous, all the landscaping they've done and everything in the springtime. So, all right, so I'm probably more drawing and less talking, so I'll get going here a little bit. All right, so we're in the home stretch on the drawing. So we're giving some eyeballs. How's that looking so far? Hey, Allison. Glad you're here. Glad everybody's here. Thank y'all for joining me. So we got this going. I tell you what, I will take the... Hey, Mallory, how are you? Man, I'm glad your kids are enjoying this. So how's online schooling going for all the kids out there? How much fun has that been? Let's see here. Make sure we can see everything okay. And like I said, I'm going to post a coloring sheet on that in the comments section. I want to see your drawings too. By the way, hey Kathy, class of 81, excellent, go Vols. I'm going to post a coloring sheet for you too. So, I bet. Chemical engineering, I'm sure that is a little bit tough online, to say the least. I was trying to think about some of my classes. I don't think I could have pulled off online very well. I actually taught, because I'm in Mississippi, obviously, now, and so I got to teach an editorial cartooning class last fall up at the University of Mississippi, up at Ole Miss, and I really loved my students. They were so sharp and so on top of everything, and it was just so much fun, and it was great because I had 5 students, 5 whopping students, but what was great about it is all 5 of them were creating work by the end of it that could be published, and I was really proud of them. So that was fun. I could probably do it online, but I would have missed it. So we'll just go ahead and slip errors back in here. My grandfather went to UT for a while, and this was back in the 20s, my mom's dad. And I remember one time he told me, he said, you could stand on the roof of Ayers Hall and see Knoxville. I was like, well, yeah, I can see that one, but I never could quite manage to figure out how to get to the roof of Ayers Hall. So we'll just add Ayers here real quick in the background. It's, how many of y'all have been back to campus now? And it's really, I was there and we went on a tour with my middle son because he's thinking about, maybe going to UT. And so we're walking around campus, looking around, and I swear I became my dad because, Dad graduated in 59 and I graduated in 91. And I'm sitting there walking around going, that wasn't here, that wasn't here, that wasn't here. So it's really kind of funny how everything has changed on campus, but it's still the same. And Ayers, of course, is, so iconic and so beautiful, such a pretty building. Hey, Beverly. Yeah, I love Smokey too. What a great mascot. We are so blessed to have one of the best the best mascot in the country. Love it. Love it. All right, so we got about 6 minutes, so we're going to cruise on out here. I'm going to do a few more things. Yeah, what I've been doing, I work for Mississippi Today. It's an online news site, and I'm their editor at large. And well, as you can imagine, it's kind of hard. Hey, Dwayne, how are you? Thank you. As you can imagine, it's kind of hard for me to get out right now and doing a lot of talking in front of groups of people. So I'm doing a lot of work on doing drawing lessons every Friday on Facebook Live on their site and doing that. And it's fun, and I enjoy it. But I forgot where I was going with this. That just shows you where I am at this point. I know I actually had to go out today. I had to go do some essential business and so forth. And I don't know if you've been shopping or anything, but it was like I had my gloves on and my mask and I was good to go and so forth. And it was just so surreal. And I don't think I've driven a car in 3 weeks because I'm kind of in place. So, but we got this time together, so that's all that matters. And that's the thing, because they keep saying for us, hey, if you need to shelter in place, I understand that, but you don't need to socially isolate yourself. You need to reach out to at least 3 people every day and say hello to them, even if it's a text. People love hearing from you. So, but yeah, my job at Tennessee, my time at Tennessee was fantastic and love it. And we still get up there all the time. We love to go in, and I can't wait to get back up to the Smokies. And one of the things that I'm doing right now, because I work during the day for Mississippi Today, and this is where I was thinking about it. But at night, obviously I'm not working. So I sit at this very table right here. This is my dining room table, as you can imagine, where this is in the house. And I draw drawings of the Smokies because I can't wait to get back up there. So that's what those early drawings, for those of you who saw that, and I'll show you again, this was the one I worked on last. So that's all pen and ink, and that was done with a Micron, one pen. I didn't use more than one pen on that. So we're going to put this here. Maybe we'll put some mountains here in the background. One great story I did with Dad. Well, Dad and I used to, so let me tell you this part of the story. So when I graduated in 91, I couldn't get a job. And it wasn't UT's fault, it was my fault, because, I wanted to be a cartoonist and there weren't any jobs. So I ended up working as a high school janitor in Marietta, Georgia, at Pope High School. And so I would get home, and my dad would be sitting there because he would get off work. And so thank you, I appreciate that. The bush drawings were very special. And like I said, you mentioned that one real quick. This one right here. Oh yeah, Barbara Bush cartoon. That was just really a cool moment. But anyway, Dad and I would watch Bob Ross together every day, watching him paint. So I've always loved the thought of being able to do this sort of thing. So, well, thank you, Ashley. I appreciate that. Yeah, it turned out pretty well. Somebody came up and said to me, he said, I didn't even know you could draw. I was like, well, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, this one too. This was, I think, Porter's Creek Trail, the bridge that goes across it. So it's one of my favorites too. So, but that pretty much is how you draw Smoky, and we'll continue to do a little bit more touching up on that. Like I said, I want you to put in the comment section, I want you to use your phone. All right, Greyhounds class of 95. If I do the math there, I was probably cleaning up after you when you were a freshman. Let's see, a couple notes here. Hey, Jordan, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Go Vols. I tell you what, it was so cool coming to the Alumni Award, and I've gotten to know so many different people at the university because, I've been gone for a long time. I've been down in Mississippi for about 25 years. I love it down here. Mississippi's a really great place. But like I said, it was just, there's something about being able to come back up to Knoxville and being able to touch base. Just really, really a lot of good folks up there, and very lucky. This was, just real quick too, this was the drawing that I did. This is from Klingman's Dome. So, all right, so we're going to finish up Smoky here real quick. Anything else you think I should add? Anything I'm missing? So Jordan, like I said, Jordan, thank you so much for your comments. I appreciate everybody commenting on this. It's been a lot of fun. We're about ready to wrap it up. But like I said, in the comments section, I will do a coloring sheet for you to be able to print off. If you've got a printer, that's a good thing. Let me pull that up for you real quick. And this is going to be for you. I've got Smokey zooming with some of his favorite people. I don't know if you've done Zoom yet. It's a lot of fun. We got Torchbearer, The Rock, Ayers Hall, and of course, whatever the guy is with the coonskin cap. Sorry, hope that doesn't make me lose my graduation. So anyway, you can watch this. They're going to save this. You can watch this again. I want to see your artwork in the comments section. And look, these are tough times, but you know what? We can pull this off together. And I highly recommend, like I said, if you get stressed out, try coloring. It does wonders. Love y'all. Y'all stay healthy. Go Vols. And I can't wait to get back up to Knoxville again. And I can't wait till we're all crowded up in Neyland Stadium cheering on the Vols. So y'all take care. And that's a wrap.